Here we have the term mushrikeen, the polytheists, the disbelievers. So it's not a general commandment. Whenever you find a disbeliever, go and unalive them. It's not like that. The verse has a tanzil. Tanzil means that the reason because of which the verse comes down, and then it has a ta'wil. So it's an interpretation, and
Yep.
that's why the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells Imam Ali alayhi salam, you're going to fight based on the ta'wil of the Quran, the interpretation of the Quran, just like you fought based on the tanzil of the Quran, the reason for which the verse came down. So that in and of itself shows that nobody's allowed to implement those verses, only the infallible. And in particular, Imam Ali alayhi salam was commanded by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to unalive three particular groups of Muslims that were transgressing against the successor of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, unaliving the Muslims. And that was the first three civil wars of Islam.
Yeah. So just two questions for me then. So you would say that the Arab conquest that followed was just all a coincidence then?
Not a coincidence, it was a conspiracy against the family of the rightful heirs, rightful successors, but done by Umar ibn al-Khattab, Abu Bakr, and basically Uthman ibn Affan, and then Bani Umayyah. They spread Islam through sword. The Prophet Muhammad had nothing to do with it. He says that after me, Ali ibn Abi Talib, they didn't follow Ali, and they went ahead and did what they wanted to do. So it's not Prophet's fault.
So yeah, so you're going more into like the Shia Sunni split then, basically at this point, right? That's kind of what you're saying.
Absolutely. Like, not at this point, at the very beginning of time, we believe in
Yeah.
the divine line of succession. Inni ja'alun fil ardi khalifa is the direct verse in the Quran. God is the one who's making a caliph in the land. And
Yep.
then the Sunnis say that Ali ibn Abi Talib, his hand was raised by the Prophet, saying that whoever I'm his master, Ali is his master.
So help me with this because I never really went into too far. There were some Shia leaders initially, no? My understanding.
No, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam was the only successor of the Prophet, because he was also the first successor of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the first person who pledged allegiance to
Yeah.
Islam and to the Prophet. He was
But
the
he
only
was a
person out
leader.
of,
But he did become leader, right?
yeah, for 4 years, and then not, it wasn't like basically the first month of his caliphate, the wife of the Prophet, alongside with the Zubair, who was Sayful Islam, the sword of Islam, and Talha, who was Ashja'un Nas, the bravest of the people.
They started a war.
These are the titles. They started a war, and then after that, following that, it was the Battle of Siffin. It took more than a year to fight Muawiyah. Muawiyah was who? Was from Bani Umayyah. Bani
Yeah.
Umayyah is the cursed tree in the Quran, and the Shajarat al-Mal'unata fil Quran. The cursed tree in the Quran is Bani Umayyah, according to Sunni narrative.
Yeah.
And basically, Muawiyah was enabled by who? By Uthman ibn Affan, the third caliph.
Yeah.
So these people gathered together, basically, and their justification for attempting to unalive the brother of Rasulullah and
The
the
true heir.
husband. I'm sorry?
They were trying to get rid of the lineage or something like that.
Yeah, they were trying to actually get rid of the link, just like they unalived the daughter of the Prophet 6 months after the passing of the Prophet, and her grave is not to be found. We don't know where she's buried, and she was extremely angry with Abu Bakr, according to Sunni narrations. Basically, yeah,
So Ali
you know
was
the
the
story.
only. So Ali was the only one, the only like Shia leader that ever got to be in power.
Yeah, he was in power, but not as a spiritual religious leader. He was
Yeah.
just somebody who was to clean up their mess,
Yeah. But I'm saying he
because
was
they
the only
was
one. There was no other, nobody else. After that, it was just
nobody
all
else.
Sunnis.
All like worse than Sunnis. Umar and Abu
Yeah.
Bakr and Uthman were Sunnis, but the Bani Umayyah, they were the sworn enemies of the Prophet. Like the tribe of the Abu Sufyan and Muawiyah, they were the people that would constantly go to war against the Prophet all the
Got it.
time. They were on all the battles. And then when Mecca was conquered by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they became tulaqa wa abna'ut tulaqa, those people who the Prophet let free,
Okay.
because he forgave them basically.
Okay, let me just then let's go back to the Quran. Then I just want to get your interpretation on a couple things, because just to make
Go
sure
ahead.
you guys do use the same Quran, right? It's not like a different Quran or anything like that.
Yeah, it is. It is. The Quran is corrupted according to the Shia belief and the Sunni belief, actually. It's a
The Quran's
consistent narrative
corrupted.
across. According
How?
to all of the sources of all of the sects of Islam, the Quran is not the Quran that came down upon the Prophet Muhammad. Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, and all of the Shia sources, they claim the Quran used to be 17,000 verses, and right now it's just 6,000. So two-thirds of it is missing.
Jesus. Okay. All right. Interesting. All right. Let me just get your interpretation on this, because this to me seems pretty clear in terms of that verse that we were talking about in 929.
Well, let me just establish one thing, because the Quran says in Surah 3, verse 6, I think, that basically لا يعلم ما يعلم تأويله إلا الله والراسخون في العلم. Nobody knows the interpretation of the Quran except for God and those who are deeply rooted in knowledge. And Imam Ali alayhi salam and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they say that أين الذين زعموا أنهم الراسخون في العلم دوننا. Who are those who think that they are deeply rooted in knowledge, other than us? Because the household of the Prophet, the Ahlul Bayt, who are purified in the Quran, these are the only people that can interpret it. So if I know the interpretation, I will tell you, but I'm not the one who interprets the book for you.
I'm with you. I just hope that you're also aware of, the flip side of that same coin. It basically ends up being whatever they want it to be, right? At a certain point.
Yeah, God interprets the book however He wants to.
Right.
It's not up to
So
us.
my fear with that is that then we kind of get detached from reality, possibly, right? We don't know, like if we don't
The
know.
reality, that's the thing. The reality cannot be transferred through words. That's the inherent
Yeah,
incompletion of
bro.
the words, which
Yeah,
is like, if imagine the original language to be the real language of manifestation, and then we lied, and then God punished us by making us use something which wasn't to speak and transfer ideas, our tongue. Imagine somebody cannot speak, and then they use their hands in order to transfer those ideas. How incomplete those hands will be in comparison to your tongue. That's like the comparison between the language of manifestation than the language of tongue. So like God tries to basically use the words as a door to
yeah.
get us closer to the language of manifestation.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I understand that, but just because this is where I'm at, right? As a total disbeliever, I don't pick a side, right? What I see is we have a Quran. It
Hmm.
tells you a message. There's somewhat of a story in there. And then we have Shia groups of hadiths and Sunni groups of hadiths, which you could then take those and you could get more context for the words in the Quran, right? And both sides are kind of saying the other side is lying. You get what I'm saying?
Actually, that's
So,
not the case,
what's up?
because the Sunni narrative actually is very in line with Shia narrative. But
Okay,
like
well
this.
yes. So so for example, right now I'm saying from what I can see that the Sunni hadiths seem to show that there was violence in Islam towards disbelievers. It's just for the sake of their disbelief, not because they did anything wrong. That's what the Sunni sources show. I don't know what the Shia sources show. So if you're telling me they're in line,
The source of knowledge is the basically. So you know how the Sunni narratives were compiled.
sure, I have
You
an
don't.
idea. I
You
have
don't
an
have an
idea.
idea.
I do have an idea, but what are you getting at exactly?
I'm saying that there are false reports. Do you agree
Of
with that?
course,
Because
yeah,
there are contradicting narratives.
yes,
So how
but
do you
they
understand if there is like, I don't believe in the chain of the narratives and stuff like that. That's like, it doesn't work, okay? Because the scholars disagree amongst one another.
right,
Okay, so it cannot be the source, because if it worked, you wouldn't have disagreed with one another, right? But you disagree. So
technically,
that's
yeah,
not the source. But we say, for example, if we can prove that somebody is a liar and is a hypocrite in Islam through the divine line of succession, through their opposition against the rightful heirs and good people, if we understand like who are the bad people, who are the good people for sure, then that would be like a start. You know, that's not we cannot belie everything that a hypocrite says, because that's also a bad thing to do. But
But
like
that's
like we
also
can be
I
suspicious.
right, and I get that. But I think
But
you
go
would
ahead,
agree
like
you would agree with me, Mohammed, that people are complicated, right? Somebody could be
sometimes no,
people could be
sometimes no,
lying
sometimes.
about. I don't know anybody who's not. I myself am a very complicated person. If I was to judge myself, I could say I'm honest sometimes. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm completely telling the truth. Sometimes I'm lying to you. There's if I don't think it works. I think people could change their motives and be very complicated. So I don't think it works to say somebody's a liar and somebody's not a liar, like just in
Okay, can
general.
I ask a couple of questions and you will be the judge?
Sure.
Okay, for example, you remember the tragedy of Thursday, the hadith that Omar said, "Don't give him the pen and paper to the Prophet."
Yeah.
So how can he be sincere?
That seems definitely weird for sure. But
That's one.
but
That's one.
now but now
Just let me
let's
let me
go
yeah,
ahead.
let me show you one example, just a couple of examples, okay?
Yeah.
Imagine this is in history. This is in Tarikh al-Tabari. This is in Ibn Ishaq, the rest of the books. Second, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, Aisha and Hafsa and Abu Bakr and Umar, as the first commandment, they
But
ordered all the
but let me
Muslims
let me
to
make a comment on that though, because I have thought
go.
about that scenario about the pen and paper. The Shia narrative is that Muhammad knew how to read and write, and so he was asking for a piece of paper because he wanted to write his successor.
Also Sunni narrative, because in Sahih Bukhari it says, "Give me a pen and paper so I will write."
I understand, but at that moment, if you take the complete Sunni narrative that they knew the Prophet to be illiterate, that would automatically be like, whoa, okay, just ignore him. He's obviously
It's
losing
not a
his mind.
Sunni narrative. It's a scholarly interpretation, which is bullshit. With all due respect, okay, because it's like Ummi means from Ummul Qura, which was Mecca. Mecca used to be called Ummul Qura. It can also mean spiritually ignorant, but like it's a matter of interpretation. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, according to the history, he
But
could read
is
and write.
but isn't this in the Quran that says the unlettered prophet, which they find written in their books?
Translation, it's a matter of translation. Again, translation is a form of interpretation, so they interpret it as to mean that this means that he couldn't read and write, but that's like extremely false. Okay, he says it in Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, "Give me a pen and paper so I will write." This is one of the examples. I can show you many.
I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. I'm all I'm trying to point out to you is that could be evidence of malicious intent. But if I take the Sunni narrative, which he couldn't read and write, then that could be also evidence of him just being crazy at that moment.
Again,
Because
it's a
you
matter
know what I
of
mean.
interpretation, brother.
That's
It's
what
a
I'm
matter of
saying.
interpretation, brother.
That's what I'm saying.
It's the
So
scholars. It's the scholar. Listen, they say that Abu Bakr was the caliph because the Prophet, because he led the prayer. So it's not a direct statement, right? They say that this signifies, this implies that he was supposed to be the legitimate successor. We say,
right.
okay, how do we do with the direct, explicit statement of the Prophet Muhammad that said, "Whoever I am his master, Ali is his master"? You threw that out.
But
You
Mohammed, let's
you
be
threw that into the
honest.
trash.
Let's be really honest, because if we're talking about a moment like that, right? Okay, let's say he asked for a pen and paper. He wanted to write somebody's name on it, and then he didn't get it. I'm pretty sure at that moment he knows he's dying. He's gonna be like, "Okay, whatever. My successor is Ali." Like he's just gonna say it then, right?
He had said it before. It was to name other successors, some of whom will, were supposed to be kept as secrets because they will infiltrate. They will try to conspire again against those people. So from the time of Adam, peace be upon him, the nation state, because of the tyranny and injustice against the rightful heirs, the taqiyya, the
I get
concealment of
what
the
you're saying,
knowledge
Muhammad, but
started.
what is the story there? Are they saying that when he asked for a pen and paper, they didn't bring it, and then Muhammad just stayed quiet? He didn't.
No, Muhammad dismissed them because they started raising their voice against the Prophet, disobeying the Quran again. They started not taking him as a judge, disobeying the Quran again. The Prophet in the Quran says, "Ma yantiqu anil hawa in huwa illa wahyun yuha." He doesn't speak from his own desire. Everything that he says is revelation. They were belying the Quran again. The Prophet said, "Get out of here." And then a few days later, because he survived for the following 3 days, he dictated his will according to actually Sunni narrative also from Imam Ali alayhi salam, because he said it to Talha that after you left, the Prophet dictated his will. But the Shia narrative actually reports and narrates the entirety of the narration, that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam names the entirety of the names of his successors in that document, and he dictates it to Ali ibn Abi Talib, the first successor.
So what's the difference then? If he got the narrative, he got the paper out anyway. What's the difference?
What do you mean? What's the difference?
You were making it sound like he didn't get the paper on the first day to write his successors, but now you're saying in the Shia story he did get the paper out anyway a couple days later.
And Sunni narrative actually, but like the Sunni narrative doesn't report the will. It just says that Imam Ali says that after you left, the Prophet mentioned and dictated his will to me. But the thing is that the difference is that now we have the names of the successors who have the spirit of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who can interpret the book for us and the rest of the story. Only 24 people, according to the Prophet, can represent Islam and can represent the Prophet. The Prophet
Well,
claims that I'm the most knowledgeable, right? Imagine he's Einstein. He's the best professor. He's like the best physicist.
why
And he
would
says, hey, I only
Muhammad
have 24 students, that these people can tell you what I meant by what I said.
why would
That's only
Muhammad
logical.
why would Muhammad wait so long into because the whole idea is that he got poisoned and then he was poisoned for a long time.
That's
Why
a
would
lie
he?
again by Aisha. Aisha herself poisoned Muhammad.
Isis is the one lying. I have heard that, but okay. But he was sick for a while, and why would he wait till the last moment to finally say, okay, this is my will?
The first time, and this is again in Sunni narrative, I can come up with the sources if you want to. I can give you an entire article
Yeah.
proving that, like, from the first time that he went public, okay, the verse came down, "Andar ashiratak al-aghrabin." Okay, warn your closest relatives. This is in the Quran. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam gathers 40 members of Quraysh. He starts telling them that basically, if you follow me, if you obey me, you will be the rulers in this world and the honored ones in the hereafter.
Yeah.
And then he offer his hands to each and every one of those people in
Does it
that meeting.
does it make sense
Nobody
to you?
takes his hand except let me finish. Nobody shakes his hand except Ali ibn Abi Talib, and he says, Ali is my successor, my caliph, my inheritor.
Yeah.
Okay, he says it openly, and then
Okay.
everybody knows that Ali ibn Abi Talib was like Aaron to
So,
Moses, right?
ha,
You heard
yes,
this?
yeah. So, how
So
would
Aaron
you?
was who? Aaron, let me finish just 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron was caliph in the Quran, was the caliph of Moses. Harun akhlufni fi qawmi wa aslih wa la tattabi' sabila al-mufsidin. Aaron was a successor.
How would you feel about the people? Because like even like me, I see sometimes that Muslims like to say that everything happens according to the will of Allah, etc., etc. So was it Allah's will to allow the Sunnis to go over the Shias?
In the Quran says there's no compulsion in religion. So Imam Ali could have basically gone to war. He didn't, because like it has to be by choice. It's a personal relationship with God. If you don't want God, that's fine. He leaves you alone. But then you're gonna taste the fruit of your actions.
Okay. All right, let's go back to the Quran real quick because I just want to get your ideas. So this is what I see when I read these verses. Okay, I know you're saying I can't interpret it, but again, me being a disbeliever, I'm just gonna read it and I'm not gonna assume only God can interpret words. I'm gonna say I can read just fine. So according to this, it's talking about the people not being allowed, the pagans not being allowed to come to the Kaaba anymore after this year, right? You're familiar with this?
I'm not.
This, huh?
Read the verse for me,
Okay, so now
or
this is
show
not.
the Arabic version.
This is 928. So it says, "O you who believe, the polytheists are unclean, so let them not come near the Masjid al-Haram after this year. And if you fear poverty, Allah will enrich you."
Yeah, okay.
Okay? So if
Well, I
you
don't
fear
know who the polytheists refer to. Maybe it's a particular group of people, as I said.
Yeah. So you have to just think, right? This is when Muhammad he's returning from Medina back to Mecca. Okay? And now he's saying, like how you said, when he got persecuted from Mecca, he went to Medina. Then he gained political power there, and then he came back to Mecca now to basically take over Mecca and to take over the Kaaba,
Uh-huh.
right? Which from Muhammad's point of view always belonged to Allah, right? The Kaaba. Okay,
I
but
don't know.
yeah,
There were 21 Kaabas, and the Kaaba of Abraham. Like we know that the Kaaba of today is false. Forget about it. Like, go ahead.
okay, but from the
There's
classic
so many
story,
points here. Actually, there's
I
so
know
many
I'm here
detail in this story.
I'm hearing it now, but the classic understanding is that the Kaaba was built by Abraham. It always belonged to Allah. So the story is that Muhammad wanted to reclaim the Kaaba because the pagans were using it now. So he wanted to stop that, all the idolatry that was happening inside the Kaaba. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah, and like that's actually the mainstream narrative, which is
right,
false. Yeah,
that's false. That's false too.
yeah, that's absolutely false.
Okay, what's your version of that story?
Well, as I said, there's too much detail in that story. I just know that there were 21 Kaabas in the time of the
Okay.
Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The
Okay.
current Kaaba is not the Kaaba. The Prophet was born in Petra, Jordan, and the original Kaaba was in Petra. And there is ample evidence for that. We can
There
back it
is.
up.
There is evidence. That's the funny part. So I'm glad you brought this up because I didn't know there were Muslims who believe this because
Yeah.
this is actually a
Like we know
story.
this. This is not a matter of belief, brother. This is fact. Okay, this
and
is
and the and
like
the reason for
the
that,
Kaaba
Muhammad,
being in current Mecca is bullshit as
it's not even
bullshit can get. Like
possible.
it's not possible.
Because why? Because there's no water there, right?
Not that is there's no water. The description doesn't fit. You saw this to the documentary, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
So like that should be enough. That should settle the deal.
Let me just tell
And we have
everybody
other
else.
evidences. And we have other evidences as well. The Imam of the time, the successor of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, says that also. He confirms that narrative.
Let me tell you guys this, so you guys, whoever doesn't know, whoever hasn't heard this. So
I can prove it
the
to you through narrations, actually. But like, go ahead.
so basically the story goes that the Kaaba was never in Mecca, and that the whole story never happened in Mecca because essentially Mecca is what, like, how do we say it, like secluded, or it's like off the road. It's not on the normal trade route that you would expect to see, right? Mecca is like on a cliff almost. It's like hanging off a cliff essentially, and there's no water there at the time. And so in the Sunni narrative, they put the Zamzam well there. I'm sure you've heard of it, Muhammad. So they put this miraculous well that they use that to explain how a civilization could have existed in Mecca, right? But in reality, we know that that's probably just made up, right? So, and then they also say that, like, in the direction, I forgot, there was an issue with the Qibla too, right, Muhammad, that proves this story too.
Yeah, the first mosques that were built in the first 100 years of Islam, they were all headed towards Petra. So that's enough evidence, I think. After the direction of worship changed from Jerusalem to somewhere else, that somewhere else was Petra,
Yeah.
current Mecca. Yeah,
Yep.
like, and then in the 70 AD, and then Imam Ali alayhi salam, actually the first successor, he says it, that the second they took over, they changed everything. Literally everything. The book, the Mecca, the Kaaba, everything, they changed it. And then the narrations say when the rise of the family of Muhammad rises, he's going to correct the Qibla, the direction of worship of all the mosques. He's going to demolish the Kaaba, rebuild it in its actual place. So these are all evidences in the narrations of the Prophet Muhammad and the successors that
Yep.
this can't be the Kaaba. But like we
And,
have physical
and
evidence as well.
and I think they found actual mosques where they show the direction, the Qibla was not towards Mecca, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, unanimously headed towards Petra.
towards Petra. This makes a lot of sense. So, you guys, if you guys don't believe us, go look this up. There's entire documentaries on this. They cannot find any evidence of like 7th century Mecca being the place. This is why they don't even allow archaeology, is my understanding, right? In Saudi Arabia,
Yeah, they don't.
they don't allow it. If they did, then if they really wanted to prove their case, they would allow archaeology to happen, but they don't.
Yeah, actually, the guy bin Salman, look at this fact. Everybody knows, every scholar, they know that Muawiyah was a cursed person. They know that he was on the lying party. He was from the hypocrites. He fought the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was the Bani from Bani Umayyah. Okay,
Yeah.
but then right now Bin Salman made paid for an entire series praising Muawiyah as
Yeah.
the writer of Revelation, as one of the scribes of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yeah.
This is just wow. Okay, and
Yeah.
then basically this is one, and then he gave the kiswa of the Kaaba 3 times as a gift to Jeffrey Epstein,
Yep. Yep. We did do that.
for free. Like he gave it to him as a gift.
Let
Like,
me
and he represents the Prophet Muhammad.
here. I'm gonna let up Mo Ali real quick. He's probably against this narrative. See what he thinks on this top part. What do you think, Mo, so far? Anyway, let's keep going then. Sosa's also loading in, but we'll see. Mo, if you got a point on this, just let us know. But all right, so here, Mohammed. So this is what I'm trying to show you. Here, this is I know you. It sounds like you don't know too much about this part of the story, but this is the part where again Muhammad comes from Medina. He comes back to Mecca. He
Don't be
kicks out the.
arrogant. Don't be arrogant. Don't die like that.
Oh my God, this guy's annoying.
Allah
He
is the
kick-
only God.
Shut up, dude. He kicks out the pagans, right? From the so basically the story here, Muhammad, is that after this year, there's no more idolatry at the Kaaba. That's the point of this verse. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now that creates a economic issue because part of the reason why the economy was able to flourish in that area was because the different pagans were coming from different areas to the Kaaba, and then that would facilitate trade.
Okay.
This is the story. I don't know if it's the same as in your story, but it makes sense because it says here, "O believers, the polytheists are unclean, so they should not approach the mosque after this year." And then the very next statement is, "If you fear poverty, Allah will enrich you."
Well, I don't I don't know if that would like basically make an like economic issue, but I know that Imam Ali was the one who demolished the idols. That I know that it took place. The demolishing of the idols, it took place. I remember that part of it.
Right, but what I'm trying to show you is here, like this is literally the command. Allah is saying they should not approach the mosque after this year.
Yeah,
Right.
who's they?
The
Who's
disbelievers, the polytheists.
Okay, are you sure that this is not referring to a particular group of people? For example, Bani Umayyah, or those who didn't
Yes,
pledge
you can put
allegiance
it.
to the Prophet,
That's
agreeing
why.
to the terms?
Yeah,
Hi,
that's why.
sorry to interrupt.
What's up, so far?
Can I ask, what are you debating right now?
So, this gentleman, Muhammad, he's from the people that believe in the Mahdi. You know that guy, the Mahdi, the guy that came recently with the beanie.
Abdullah Hashim Abu Sadiq, if you don't know the name.
Yes.
But he's not
But-
Muslim.
No, it's fine, But we're not debating. We're not debating that part. We're right now. I'm trying to prove to him that the Quran does indeed teach offensive jihad against disbelievers for the sake of their disbelief. That's what I'm trying to show him right now.
But I don't believe this verse supports that.
I know you don't. No Muslim does usually because they don't read the tafsirs. So if you were to read your tafsirs, Ibn Kathir agrees with me that this verse supports that. But I'm just trying to make the
Okay.
case now through the Quran.
Who's Ibn Kathir? Who's Ibn Kathir? Is he one of the deeply rooted in knowledge?
Not from your point of view, obviously, but from the Sunni
And
tradition,
it
he
shouldn't
is.
like.
But how is this an issue?
Listen,
how is this?
he
How is it an issue?
never like Ibn Kathir never met the Prophet. He wasn't included in the successors of the Prophet.
I got you,
So
but
the-
this is what I'm saying though. So Muhammad, this
And
is
let me
this,
like, just a very quick narration. Imam Ali says, and the Prophet says, there is no jihad except with a prophet or a successor of the Prophet.
we understand that.
So
we understand
there
that.
is no war that is allowed according to Islam unless you have an imam or a messenger.
I agree. I agree
So
with that.
You
I agree with
cannot
that.
do it.
I agree, but this is what I want. The only part I'm trying to establish here is the necessity for war. That's all I'm trying to show you. So
That's and again another thing. Imam
But-
Ali says sometimes the verse addresses the prophet, but it talks to the people. Sometimes it addresses the people, but it talks just to the prophet. That's why it needs interpretation in the first place, because you don't know who it is that he's addressing.
I agree with that.
The word of God is not like the word of men.
I agree,
It
but I'm
needs
trying to.
interpretation.
But Muhammad, what I'm trying to get you to understand is, imagine the scenario. They're literally in the middle of the desert. Okay, their whole thing was trade. That was their whole thing. So if you shut down the Kaaba marketplace, you have no economy.
That's
You get what
not
I'm
true.
saying? Okay,
No,
go
I
ahead.
don't get
Where
what you're saying.
what other economy would they have besides the trade at the Kaaba?
Basically, the tribe of Quraysh were traders.
Right.
Okay, so they would travel.
Right.
لإلاف قريش إيلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف فليعبدوا رب هذا البيت. So they
Yes.
would travel
Uh-huh.
and they would go to China even in order to basically trade.
This is
So that
true,
was one of
but
the other.
but the story goes that the trade routes all intersected at the Kaaba. Basically, they all went to Mecca. The Mecca was like it was a hub of trade. It was a trade hub.
Yeah, but can I
so-
interrupt?
Go ahead, Sofa.
I don't think this point supports anything.
Here, Sofa.
Honestly,
Let me just
I
show
don't-
you. Let me just show you real quick because I know you do believe in most of this stuff. So here, look. It says here, "O believers, the polytheists are impure, so they should not approach the mosque, the sacred mosque,
And
after."
yeah, I have no issue with
Can I
that.
ask
I
your
have no
name,
issue with this
Scary
whole
Hours?
verse.
Hold
I'm
on,
sorry, can I ask you-
Sofa. I just wanted to make it very clear. I know you're
Yeah.
an evil, disgusting person. I'm not here trying to show you that you have issues. I know you don't have issues with child marriage. You don't have
Yo,
issues
listen,
with fighting people. I
are you
know that.
Christian?
That's
Are
not
you
the point.
Christian?
No, I'm not. Now,
What
so
are
the
you?
only
I wanna
thing,
interrupt really
the only thing I'm
quickly.
trying to
Just-
show
Who's
you,
disgusting because
You
you've been
are.
talking disgusting.
You
No,
are.
Look,
Yes, you
Look
are.
at how you're speaking. Look
okay,
at how
don't
you're
worry,
speaking.
don't worry. You didn't
Look
even
at
let
how
me
you're
finish my
speaking.
point, and you're saying I don't have an issue. I don't
Why are you
care if you have
upset?
an
Why are you
issue.
upset?
Don't
Why are you
worry.
upset?
Just don't tell me if you have an issue or not, and we'll
Yo,
be fine.
pipe down,
Scary
pipe down,
Hours.
calm down.
Okay,
Scary
now you're
Hours.
getting dropped. What's up?
I really need to go because I have a class. So I just
Yeah.
wanted to ask your name and thank you for letting me
Oh,
in the
yeah.
conversation.
Yeah,
What's your name?
absolutely. No, I just go by Scary Hours, brother. That's it.